Okay, hello to all of the friends joining. Thank you so much for being here. I already see so many people in the chat, so thank you for showing up today. Today we are going to be discussing The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark, and I am joined here. Ooh, look at that. Do you have the cool one that's like the sprayed edges? Because
Yes, I do.
I saw there was a version that had the sprayed edges, and yeah, that's so cool.
I have it at home. It looks really cool.
Oh yeah, I love the details on these sprayed edges looking ones. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I am joined by two booktube friends here, as you can see on the screen. This is Vanessa and Lexi, and both of you, this is your first time on the booktube, if I'm not incorrect. So like, how exciting to have some new faces around here. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely Saturday. And maybe since you are both new to the book club, if you wouldn't mind, maybe like introducing yourself, just kind of like saying like what genres you typically read most and like what you do on your channels. Both of their channels are linked down below, by the way, if you want to go and check them out. So Vanessa, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting both of us. But so I'm Vanessa from the channel Read with Dr. B, and I primarily read romance and all of its like subgenres or genre blends, whatever you want to call it. So like dark romance, romantasy, horror-mance, monster, sentient object, like all of it. On my channel, I pretty much do like all kinds of things. So lots of sprints, TBRs, reading challenges, book hauls, and unhauls. So yeah, I don't really have like a set schedule of when I post things. I just kind of post when I find something to be like interesting to me or something I'm motivated to do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm Lexi. My channel is Books with Lexi. I primarily read horror, then thriller. I've been reading a lot of romance this year, mostly contemporary romance and then romantasy. I do a lot of vlogs. That's my favorite thing to make and to watch. But I have a TBR game. I do a lot of readathon content. I host a readathon, maybe a second one coming up. Yeah.
Teasers. Love it. Yeah, I was gonna say Lexi does so many readathons that are so cool on her channel. And I also loved last year when you did that video series that was like the reading horror from like different things. I love that.
It was so fun, but like so much work. And I'm trying to find a way to bring it back in like a different capacity that I don't.
Right.
Die.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, and Vanessa did you're doing Arc August right now, right?
I am, yes. Yeah. So this is technically the second year, but the first year that I've made it competitive. So we're having a lot of fun because it's like nautical themed, like shark August. But
that's cute. I love it.
I am already thinking about a theme for next year that has a play on words for arc. So stay tuned.
Cool. Ooh, more teasers. we're getting all the info here early. I love it. Yeah, and Vanessa also does like tons of reading sprints all the time for like summer reading and winter reading. And that's actually how I first like got in touch with you. It's so cool. So yeah, so thank you both so much for being here. We were just discussing right before the live show. I didn't know that like you guys have actually met in real life and like you're close in real life. So that's really cool. I'm so glad to hear that. But thank you so much to everybody already joining us this morning. I appreciate it. We will be discussing The Ghostwriter. So I would love to know if you did read along with us this month, maybe you can put a little like fire emoji in the chat. And if you DNF'd it or if you have not yet read it, maybe you can put like a black heart emoji in the chat just so we can get a visual on, who's here because they read it and who hasn't yet. We will be warning you well before we jump into spoilers. The beginning of this will be spoiler free, so you can hang out if you haven't read the book yet. But while everybody's doing that, would one of you feel comfortable like pitching like a non-spoilery synopsis to anybody who might not have read the book yet?
I can, if Lexi doesn't want to.
Go for it.
You can do like a dramatic reading of the synopsis if you'd rather do that.
So basically, we have our main character, Olivia. She works as a ghostwriter, hence the name of the book. And her latest job leads her to work for her estranged father. And she feels like she has no choice but to take the job because she's desperate for money. Like she's really behind on her bills. They really went into how much she needed money. And it's revealed pretty early on that she's going to be ghostwriting a book for her dad because his health is declining and no one knows that her father is Vincent Taylor. And he's a pretty like prominent person in their, I guess, town or their area, because about 50 years ago, he was accused of killing his 2 teenage siblings, Danny and Poppy. And he has drafted up this book, but he's asked Olivia to finish his final book, which is going to detail his childhood, his family, and the months leading up to his siblings' murder.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that was great. Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Well, it does look like there's a lot of fire emojis. I'm seeing so much fire. So thank you so much to everybody for reading along with us this month. I especially appreciate it this month because I had not realized at the time that I picked this that the audiobook was only available on Audible. So that's my bad because I definitely try not to do that because I don't even have Audible myself. Like I don't use Audible. So that's unfortunate. I was only able to read this one physically, but did either of you end up listening to this one on audio? No? Okay. Okay, cool. Good to know. Yeah, but I feel terrible because I was like, oh shoot, like I never want to do that where like the audiobook has very limited access. So so thank you.
I stole a friend's credit.
Oh nice. Yeah, there you go. I was like trying to get the like free trial with Audible and it just wasn't working. I was like, okay, I guess I'll just read it physically, but
no.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our ratings then, because I'm so excited. I have no idea what you two rated this book, and I have not shared my rating anywhere online yet, so I'm so excited to talk about this. If you would like to in the chat, if you did end up reading the book this month, now would be your time to like let us know what you rated this book. And then let's see. Well, let's have Vanessa go first, and if you want to just give us your rating, and then give us like a very brief, non-spoilery, like why that was your rating.
Oh gosh, I was so nervous to go first because I'm like.
Okay, I can have Lexi go first if you don't want to go first.
I can go first. I don't care. I've been on a live show where I gave a book 5 stars and everyone else gave it 1, and I still was like, I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I gave it 4 stars.
Ooh, okay.
This is my second from Julia Clark, and I also gave that one 4 stars.
Nice. Okay. And what about it was 4 stars?
Yeah, I got distracted. I liked the way the story was woven together. I liked getting the chapters in the past and then seeing her kind of like, it was like a puzzle that she was putting together. So I liked that.
Nice. All right, Vanessa.
Okay, I feel comfortable sharing. So it's not as bad as you guys think. I think I initially started out by being like, man, this is pretty good. It's a 4-star. And then as I was writing my review for it, I started thinking about some of the like problems I had with it, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had mentioned off screen that like part of my job has to do with the disease that the father has. And so like I had a lot of background knowledge about that and like what was real and what was maybe like not researched as well. So some of that, as well as a larger issue within mystery thrillers that bothers me with the tropes. So I ended up going down to a 3-star.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, 3 stars not terrible.
It's not bad.
It's not terrible. Yeah, very good to know. I mean, I obviously have 0 knowledge about this, so I think it'll be good to have your insight on that. Okay, yeah. So I ended up giving this one a 4. I really actually enjoyed this like a lot more than I thought I was going to. I feel like this book was a little bit like slower paced at times, but to be honest, like I felt really connected to the characters actually, and I really liked the sibling dynamics between Vince and Poppy and Danny and kind of like learning their history and kind of like Lexi was saying, I liked how it felt like it was like a puzzle you were trying to put together, and like the way that she wrote it was actually just really engaging. Like even at times when it was like slower paced, I just felt so invested in like learning what was happening, and there was a plot twist at the end that got me. I was gooped gagged like, what do you mean? So yeah, but I guess the reason why it wasn't 5 stars for me is just because maybe I wanted a little bit more from the ending or just like something else more surprising. I don't know. It wasn't like the perfect thriller for me, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So yeah. But yeah, wow, I'm so surprised by, I feel like the ratings in the chat, I do see a lot of 3 stars and a lot of higher ratings as well. I was just talking about this before we went live, but this one actually has really high average ratings on Goodreads for the most part. Like I think it has like a 4.1 or 4.2 out of 5, which is pretty high these days for like thrillers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm like thrillers can be very hit or miss these days, but I am kind of surprised, I guess, that this book has such high of ratings. Just like mainstream and like in general, but I guess it does make sense. Like, I don't know. one of my first questions before we jump into the spoilery things, I know you mentioned Lexi, but have you read any books from this author before? And if so, like, how did this one compare to you with the other stuff?
I read The Last Flight, which I went in expecting to not like. Yes.
Ooh, there we go.
Because it's a lot more domestic than I thought I would enjoy. But like, there's something about her storytelling that it like really works for me. That's the only one I've read. So yeah, give that one 4 stars.
Nice.
Yeah, so I am the opposite of Lexi, where I have read The Lies I Tell, her other.
Oh, okay.
And I gave that one 3 stars, which looking back at the synopsis, I don't remember too much about it, but I do recall liking the author's writing style, which is very similar to this book that we read. But I do remember like not being particularly like thrilled overall.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm really picky with my.
Yeah, that's okay. I think I'm really picky too, to be honest.
And I do own this book, so at some point I would read it because I got it for free from a little free library.
Oh,
so
nice.
Why not?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I still have The Lies I Tell is one that's on my TBR. It's still on my backlist TBR. So I do plan to read it eventually. But I did try to read The Last Flight, and I actually DNF'd it in like the first like 50-ish pages. But this was like so many years ago that like now after liking this book, I'm like, maybe I need to like give this one another go, because I really did actually like the writing a lot in this one. So it has me curious to pick up other books by her. And I think those are her only 3 published books that she's had so far. Yeah, as far as I'm aware. So very cool. Anyway, let's see. Okay, well, I guess the last thing that I'll ask before we jump into spoilers is like, how did you feel about the writing style in this book and the pacing and the atmosphere? Because in this story, we not only get, Olivia's perspective, like as she's, reconnecting with her father and trying to like write the story again, but we do throughout the book, we kind of get some like flashback scenes of events when he was, younger, like during the actual time when this was happening. And then we also do get some like moments from Poppy's perspective kind of as well. So like, how did you feel about like the overall pacing of the story and how did you like the atmosphere?
I think in general, I liked the writing style and the pacing. Like, I think this author writes pretty well and it's interesting enough to continue on, even though it is like a slightly slower pace. And I don't know if it's just like this author or maybe like a lot of mystery thriller authors tend to do this, but I kind of, at least for the last few that I've read, I feel like, we've got this good pace, like a good steady pace going for 85% of the book. And then the last 15% isn't the same type of energy.
Yeah.
Like what just, like, why did we go so quickly? Why?
Right.
But I did like all those, those POVs because it's almost like a puzzle piece, right? Because that's kind of what she was doing for her job.
Yeah, I agree. I like, it's a slower book, but the pacing didn't bother me because I found it interesting still, and I really did like the flashback kind of things, and I loved that it was the movies, so it felt a little different. I wish there was more tension in the book for me. I didn't feel a lot of that, and I think there was more of that, and I was like stressed for really anybody, then it would have been more so a 5-star. But I like her writing. I like the pacing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I agree. I think I do like the pacing in this book. Even though, like I was saying earlier, it does feel a little bit slow paced at times, like while you're reading it. But I also felt so engaged that I was like never bored, even though the pacing was a little bit slow. Awesome. Okay, well, I do want to go ahead and jump into spoilers just because I feel like sometimes with the specific nature of some of these questions, we might get into some spoilery territory. So just to risk not spoiling people who don't want to be spoiled, this is where we are going to be jumping into spoilers for the rest of this live show. So if you have not yet read the book, this is where we part ways. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so one of my first questions that I guess we could start jumping into spoilers is, how did you feel about Olivia as a character in general? And then also, like, how did you feel about Vince and like his character? And like, did you feel like you could trust him, I guess, as a character?
When at the beginning of the book they're like, this is the murderer, I'm like, that's not the murderer. So I thought it was like pretty obvious that it was going to go in another direction, even though I didn't know what was happening with that. I generally liked Olivia, but I didn't have any like true feelings about her. I think she was she didn't help or hinder the story for me. But I liked the way that she like went about her job.
Yeah, so I found myself not really having any real thoughts on her. She was just kind of there, like moving the story along. Like I didn't hate her or dislike her, dislike or like her. Like Lexi said, she was pretty much just doing her job. And you said something like not too long ago, Lexi, that was kind of about her relationship with her dad. Like it made me think about how there wasn't really, I know she's estranged from him, but like there wasn't really this emotional connection with her father. And kind of like, if you found out, you know, after all this time, your father has this disease and he's dying and he's asked you to write this book and you're learning all this stuff. Like, I feel like we didn't get any of the emotional aspect that would pull you in to make you feel any feeling, I guess.
That's actually such a good point, because I feel like I actually really did like Olivia as a character for the most part, and I did feel very like sympathetic for her situation, where it's like she's struggling, she like doesn't feel like she has, you know, anybody really in her life, and like the way that she goes back home. But you're so right about the way that there was a real like lack of emotion, I guess, with her and her dad, because I know it's like she's feeling so abandoned by him, right, because he like, you know, had this addiction and like wasn't a part of her life, and like basically sent her off to boarding school, and she was like, what, 14 years old or something. So so I do understand that maybe she's a little bit like less emotionally attached to him, but I definitely agree that like if the emotions were written a little bit better there with their characters, then I feel like it could have been an even stronger, you know, like connection, and made me feel more things as I was reading it.
I agree. And it also was like with her relationship with her fiance, boyfriend, whatever, and like with other people, like none of those felt like strong connections.
Right.
Yeah. Which then makes me think from like a mental health perspective of like her trauma. And if I were her, and I was meeting up with my father and even later my mother after all of these years, I would be angry. Like I would have like, that's still an emotion, right? Like I would want to see that emotion come out on the page, even if it wasn't like, oh, I feel so sad and bad for my father dying and I'm struggling with my job. But like there was a lot of emotion that could have been put into the story.
Right. And just out of curiosity, I know we're just jumping in, but so was the thing that you had a problem with, like with the father's illness specifically, was it because it was like not really represented in an accurate way, or was it like
sort of? Okay, so this is also, so as Gabby said, there's some spoilers. So because a lot of you have read the ending, you know that he dies. And so he has a type of dementia called Lewy body dementia, which a lot of people just think there's only Alzheimer's, but there's more than that, by the way. So this author did get a lot of the facts right. So like if you look at all the symptoms and everything, like those are all correct. But because we know he dies at the end, which I think is in June which was only a couple months after she started working with him. He died really quickly. And if he was already at his like later stages of the dementia, he would have been a lot more worse off. Like we did see some of the issues that he was having, like the altered memories and confusion, like thinking that Lydia was there when it was actually his daughter. And then the scene where the dad became like really agitated and needed to be sedated, like those, yes, those are accurate. But you would have also seen a lot more of the language stuff, like slurring words, losing his ability to even produce words, not speaking in full sentences like we are now. He would have had disrupted conversations because of one of the big issues with dementia in general is your reduced attentional skills. So like he wouldn't have been able to really have meaningful conversations with her if he was like at the end.
He was like so coherent that it was like unrealistic in a way.
And they did say he had like a couple of hours a day where he was lucid, but it was just he, like Nat says, he was more lucid than he should have been.
I see.
Because with that type of dementia, you have these like plaques or whatever they're called. They're Lewy bodies that are infecting your brain and literally, you know, kind of eating away at it. So again, he died so quickly from when he was introduced. And I was kind of like, he should be a little bit worse than we think. Like, one of the symptoms at the very beginning said 7 to 8 years is like the typical lifespan for someone after they have like their symptom onset. But it could be sooner. But I was like, it's not that soon.
Right. Yeah, that does seem actually very quick then if it's like, like 7 to 8 years and then like
that was like one issue that I had. Because like I said, it was accurate and there were moments of accuracy, but in a like grander scale, I think maybe more research should have been done and maybe he should have been behaving a little bit worse in terms of, not like behavior, but like you know what I mean? Like just cognition should have been worse.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like as someone that had no idea, I kind of took it as like he felt his story was complete, so he was just like ready to go. But like obviously you can't just be like, okay, I'm done. And it's just interesting to have that perspective on it.
Yeah. No, that is an interesting perspective to get. And I also think it's like, it is important when authors like, write about certain illnesses to have like, an accurate representation of those things. And then while we're on the subject of like things that you didn't enjoy about the book, is there anything else that you wanted to critique before we move on to things that we enjoyed about it? Just because I'm just curious, like, was there anything that you were like, oh, like I really didn't like that about this?
Yeah. So
you're like, I got a list.
This is, I think, more of a larger issue with mystery thrillers than just this book specifically. But I think I've just become really bored with the family member gets raped and then let's keep it a secret or I'll murder you kind of thing. Like that, I guess that's a trope. Yeah. But maybe I just need to realize that I don't like that in stories or care for it. Like it just kind of becomes overdone. And it doesn't really feel thrilling to me, I guess.
It's hard because that's something you don't know going in either. Yeah, that's not something they tell you in the synopsis. Yeah, I felt kind of weird about that whole thing. I was like, okay, like yeah. Well, because the thing is, it wasn't like truly that, but it was depicted as that for a while.
Yeah. I know. I would agree too. Like some of the side plots, I don't think were necessary. Like the side plot with her boyfriend, like falling out with her, and then like the feud with another author. I think especially like the feud with the other author was like one of my least favorite like side stories going on because I was like, what is happening? Like the way they were doing the email exchanges, being like, I don't know.
What that was? I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, like what is happening here?
Is that maybe the author's way of like infusing like a humorous aspect to a darker topic? Or
I took it as like showing her similarities with Poppy because a lot of the issues she was having with this guy are things that Poppy was fighting for. But it was just like, it felt random still. Like, I feel like those opinions and those things could have been put in a different way than like a feud with this author.
I'm laughing at the different comments.
Yeah. And then as far as like things like that you enjoyed about the book, because I feel like one of the things that I actually really liked about this was the use of like Poppy's footage, like the actual videotapes that she had, because I think that made it so much more fun for me, because it was one thing to like get the stories from Vince and like you don't know if he's like a trustworthy person to be sharing, because the way like I loved the twistiness of the way he would be like, yeah, like Danny buried the fucking cat and like whatever, and then she was like, oh my god, what? And she's like writing this whole thing, and then she finds actual footage that like Vince was the one burying the cat, and like so I feel like one of my favorite elements of the book was when she would be discovering Poppy's footage and like getting to see the truth of like what really happened. But was that something you also liked, or what were some things that you enjoyed about it?
Yeah, I think I also liked that because it also added to the puzzle piece aspect too.
Right.
You're like, you've got to get all these different data points and like put them together. I would say there's like some aspects to it that were a little confusing, so maybe you guys can help me figure it out. But at the very end-ish, when Poppy was dying, I was a little confused if that was a journal entry or if this was just her thoughts. Well, I mean, I'm a journal entry. She's like, I'm dying right now.
Yeah,
I had to pause that part and be like, wait, everything else has been the journals or the footage. So like I mean, with Vince, we were getting his perspective, like just like his thoughts in that time. So like after I realized what was going on, I was like, I guess we're just getting her like last thoughts to kind of close out her part of the story because we got her perspective so much. But I was thrown off by that. I was like,
Yeah.
What am I even I was looking at the book as well, and the text didn't change. It was like in the same.
I didn't notice.
So like usually if you have like italicized writing, I think sometimes it changes, like helps you think of like, oh, this is not her journal entry anymore. It is like a thought in the past or whatever.
Yeah, I was just listening to the audiobook at that point, so I didn't see that. That's interesting that there wasn't a change.
Yeah, that is such a good point too, because I feel like sometimes in books when they do the diary entry thing, it can be like you're just reading a scene from the past that feels like it's out of a novel or something. I'm like, this does not feel like a diary entry. So I remember getting that feeling a few times actually when I was reading Poppy's perspective. That's a good point. Okay, and then one of the things that I guess we can jump right into is like the ending of this book. Did you have like, okay, so for the ending of this book, were you shocked by anything at the end? Did you predict anything? Like, I want to know any of your theories that you had about what was going on. Because if right away, if you were like, okay, it's obviously not Vince, like he wasn't the one to do this, then like, what were you thinking? Were you speculating? Did you have theories? And did you end up being right about anything?
I generally don't think about, I try to not think about things when I read because like I'm obviously paying attention, but I'm not trying to like think ahead because I used to like ruin my experience while doing that a lot and not like thrillers as much. But I was like, it's not the dad. Like there's no way.
Right.
Honestly, it would have been a surprise if it was him because I was like, it's not.
Yeah.
But I wasn't set on anything. I was like the Mr. Stewart. He was suspicious, but I didn't really expect what was going on. But I don't think that there was any moment that I was like completely shocked. But I was not expecting the thing with the mom. Like, I was like, wait a second.
So I think there were pieces that came together that I don't go into books thinking like, I know who did it, or I'm gonna predict this whole thing. I just I'm there for the ride. Yeah. But there were some things that seemed odd to me, and then once they said it, I was like, they're a suspect. So like when Mr. Stewart said, I forget who went to his house. It was I
think it was Olivia, right?
Olivia, yeah, and he said something like she wasn't behaving like someone with trauma should behave, and I was like,
yeah.
Okay. And then the quote from the mom where she said, I would never let my daughter live with a killer or something. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not the dad, but maybe the mom.
Right.
I didn't even pick up on that like specific reason because I said it a couple times and I was like, okay, but yeah, that's interesting.
I know my literal first prediction that I had written down at the start of this is that because like there was one scene right at the start where he said like, Lydia, hide the knife, or he was having some kind of blackout moment when he was saying something about the knife. So then my first prediction was that Lydia was the one who killed his siblings, and then he was trying to like cover for her because he felt guilty or something like that. I thought Lydia was going to be involved. And then my second prediction was that Danny had killed Poppy and then Vince killed Danny because of it. Like he was trying to like, you know, protect his sister or get revenge for his sister or something of that nature. And then my third prediction was after like Olivia went to like Mr. Stewart and Mr. Stewart was saying all those shady things. And I was like, okay, well, he's definitely involved. Like from that moment on, I was like, he was there that night. He knows more than he's letting on. Like there's no way that he's not involved with this. So that was kind of what I was thinking. I think I was like mostly shocked when one moment that really shocked me was when we actually saw the footage of Vince burying the cat because I was like, oh my god, like I trusted you. Like, what do you mean it was you?
Yeah, I like that switch because I was like, it's not him, and then he starts to like get creepier and creepier in the footage. So it
I know, it's creepy, and I liked how the story kept misdirecting you with, like, these stories from Vince being like, Danny was getting more aggressive, and, like, Danny was getting scary, and, like, I couldn't be around him, and then all the footage is proving otherwise, really, that it was kind of Vince being a little bit more aggressive, and, like, I just really love the sibling dynamics between, like, Poppy and Danny and her, you know, her brothers, because, like, it was just so fascinating to me. I didn't know who to trust. I was like, is Danny, like, shady, or is he shady? Like, I don't know.
I feel like I just didn't trust Vincent because I was like, oh, he's got Lewy body dementia.
Yeah. You're like, don't believe a word he says.
That was the thing. Everything he said, I was questioning because of that. But then he also, like, his manuscript, I feel like, well, it was not very clear either, but
Yeah.
I thought there might be a little bit more, like, of true information in there.
Speaking of his manuscript, you know how in the in it, I think he had a whole page that said, like, she shouldn't have gone over and over again. It's at the top of the sprayed edges.
I know. Yeah. And it says it on the actual cover of the book, like, in the fire. You can see it just says she shouldn't have gone, like, over and over and over again. I was like, that's so cool.
Dang.
Like the details. Also, that is such a good point, Sarah, that I was thinking Olivia really wasn't Vincent Linton's daughter. Oh my, I never even, that didn't cross my mind. That would have been a good twist.
That would have been crazy.
Yeah, but then something that I did write down too is that I was like, why? Because for me, it kind of felt like a bit of a plot hole that Olivia didn't go to her mom and speak to Lydia sooner. Because at the point, like, where it was like after she had found actual footage, after she had talked to, like, so many other people, then she was like, I guess it's time to go to mom. And I'm like, yeah, duh. Like, why didn't you go to mom, like, first thing? Like, I thought, I was a little bit frustrated that she didn't think to immediately go to her mom and start getting clarity, because I feel like once she went to her mom, like, that's when we learned about, like, Danny doing those things to Lydia back in the day. And that's when we learned about, like, so much of the, I feel like, essential pieces of the story. So I'm like, why didn't she go to her mother sooner?
Isn't she so estranged from her, though?
But, like, she was with her dad too.
I know, yeah, she was with her dad too. And, like, I'm like, you're writing this whole story about, like, your dad's thing, and, like, she was there, like, she was his girlfriend, like, she would have so much info for you, you know?
Especially because she kept bringing up trying to, like, separate this being her father versus just doing her job. So you would think it would have gone earlier. It would have been a shorter book, but
I know, that's what I mean. I'm like, I get that.
Yeah, I think there's also better reasons.
These are also those good moments to infuse the emotion of, like, why she didn't go to mom sooner. It's like, because I don't want to talk to my mom after not talking to her for 30-something years.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I know there was probably more reason, but I didn't get the reason why she wouldn't have gone to her sooner. Like, and I'm like, because her mom had so much info for her, I'm like, she should have gone to her, like, way sooner. Like, that should have been the first person you talked to.
Literally had the last piece.
Yeah. And then same with, like, the endings. So, like, I think one of the shocking moments for me was learning about Danny, like, doing those things to Lydia. And I mean, I was shocked because I was like, oh my God, like, I didn't think he was actually, like, because I thought we were getting misperception of him with, like, you know, Vince saying that he was becoming more violent. Like, I didn't think that was necessarily true. So, like, when she actually said Danny did those things to her, I was like, oh shit, like, that was a shocking moment for me. But then the moment that actually had me the most floored was when Poppy was, like, filming the footage of, like, Danny and Mr. Stewart, like, fighting, and then Mr. Stewart kissed Danny. I was so shocked by that. I was like, oh my God, what? And the way that Mr. Stewart ended up being involved, like, I wasn't expecting that to be his involvement with what happened, because I think then it was later revealed that it said Mr. Stewart was the one who killed Poppy because she had that video footage and he wanted her to, like, get rid of it. And then I kind of like how, isn't it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the ending a little bit ambiguous, because we don't actually know, because when it said Vince always thought it was Danny, like, he showed up at the house and he saw Poppy dead and he, like, assumed that it was Danny who did it. And then him and Danny got into, like, a physical altercation, and then it said Vince hit his head on the wall, and when he woke up from being blacked out, he saw Danny was dead. So, like, he always thought maybe, like, he had actually killed Danny, but then we don't actually know for sure if it was Mr. Stewart, but, like, we can make that assumption, right? Like,
yeah, I think there was some ambiguity there.
Because I was like, did I just read this wrong, or did it say, or is it trying to imply that maybe, like, I mean, I'm sure it was Mr. Stewart that did it, but, like, Vince always believed that he was the one who actually killed Danny.
Right.
Because then it said when he woke up, he, like, took the murder weapon and, like, ran out of the house.
I thought it was Mr. Stewart killed Poppy, and then Danny came in, saw that, and then Vincent came in, saw him. They fought, and then Danny was going to kill Vincent because they, like, I think because there's something about strangling, and then Lydia killed.
Yes, that's
Danny.
what happened.
And that's why she left and said, like, my like, I wouldn't let my daughter live with a murderer. But it was her.
Okay, Lydia killed. Okay, see, that went over my head because I was like, oh, it was Mr. Stewart who killed them both.
That's the thing with, like, a lot of things happened at the end, like, very quickly.
Yeah.
So.
I had to go back and reread it a couple times because I was like, wait, what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Lydia killed Danny because of what he did to her. Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, yeah, then I actually like that even better then because I was thinking in my head, I was like, wait, so like Mr. Stewart was just there, like lingering around. Like, what was he doing? I was like, what was he doing while they were like fighting each other? Like, I was so confused.
Well, they did just leave their doors open back in the day.
Yeah, they did. Well, that's actually so interesting. I don't know why that went over my head. And then one of my final questions about the ending, I guess, was how did you feel about you know, the like, because I think the conclusion of the book is talking about how like her dad has recently passed away. She did end up publishing this book about, you know, like his experiences and sharing the truth about what happened. And then I actually really liked how the final chapter of the book was actually like a really sweet moment between like Vince and Poppy when they were kids. And I feel like for me, that kind of hit on that emotional note that I was like wanting throughout most of the story. So how did you feel about the conclusion of the book? And did you want anything more out of that ending?
I like that the end was kind of showing that they decided to like cover up some of the information because they could kind of put some of the pieces together, even though nobody truly knows exactly everything because like Mr. Stewart was there for part of it, but not other parts. And like Vincent was like blacked out for part of it. And like no one truly, except for Poppy and Danny, knew the whole thing. So I liked that it was chosen to leave those things to the public. Well, even more like putting it more on Mr. Stewart too, because even if he didn't do all of it, he was still horrific anyway. So like, might as well pin this on him too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how it wrapped up.
And did he eventually get arrested and taken away?
I think it said, yeah,
arrested for the crimes like against the students and stuff, but not for the murders.
So he's at least getting some sort of justice, but maybe not like the full. Yeah. I didn't dislike the ending. I think, like you said, Gabby, I liked how it ended on like that more happier flashback for the like last chapter or whatever, because it otherwise would have just kind of felt like, wow, that was a lot of heavy stuff, you know? And so to end on a little air of like positivity, I guess, was kind of nice.
Yeah, I know. I usually always say how I'm like, when I'm reading a thriller, like I don't want to read a happy ending because I'm reading a thriller and like I want it to be messy until the last minute and like I want a final plot twist in the last sentence to like knock me out, you know, like, which I do still prefer with thrillers, but for this particular one, I actually really like that we got, you know, Vince and Poppy having a sweet moment at the end because I feel like it reminds you like these were just kids, you know, and it's like it really hits on that like emotional thing of like they were so out of control of what was happening to them, and like it was just like a really like somber like way to end the story. And I don't know, I really liked it for this case. I don't always like the emotional endings for my thrillers, but I feel like maybe because we were lacking some of the emotional family connection earlier, maybe it was more needed, I think, at the end there.
It worked for this one.
Okay, and then one of my final, well, actually two big questions remaining. One of them is, will you read more from this author in the future? And if so, like, what would you like to see this author do next?
So I would read more from this author because I have this book.
Yes.
But it's not like on my like priority list or anything. And I don't know that I'll get it from this current, The Last Flight. But I would like to see more emotionality in the characters, like more in their heads, or the thought progression of why people are doing certain things. Like I think those tend to be some more of my preferred things in thrillers, which maybe that's more leaning into like a psychological thriller. Like I want to be in the inner workings of somebody and like what's their motivation. So I'm not trying to tell the author to change her writing style, but that's what I would like to see.
I would read more from her. I don't know if I'm gonna go back and read The Lies I Tell. I mean, I might, but like I don't need to. I I don't know, because I really like the stuff that she did with this one. My general opinion is I always want things to go like a little bit darker. So maybe something like that, but
yeah. I think the idea of her doing a legal thriller would be really interesting. I feel like my first thought was I was like, I would love to see her do like horror or something in the future. Just because I do think her writing is so strong. I hope she does more like sibling dynamic stuff in the future, just because I feel like it was so well done in this book that I would love to see her do more sibling dynamic stuff, maybe in like a horror setting. Would be really cool. Because I do think I liked how this book would be flashing back to like 1975 and then present day. So I feel like she's a good author in the sense that I like the jumping of the timelines and stuff like that. So I feel like that could also work well in like a horror setting. I mean, I just want all of my thriller authors to like publish something in horror because I think it'd be really fun.
I was just thinking she could do like a really good haunted house story of like flashbacks to the past and present.
That's what I was thinking, kind of like a Home Before Dark kind of a thing, where it's like there's a story within a story, it's haunted house, family ties, like.
Yeah, I think she has a really good grasp of like writing timelines and like making both parts engaging for me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then one of the final questions that I had was, did you have any like book, movie, TV show comparisons that like maybe if somebody enjoyed this, that maybe they could also like this, or maybe if they didn't enjoy this, maybe they would like this other thing better? If you have any recommendations.
I feel like there's so many thrillers that are like something is wrong with your family and you have to go back and figure it out. So honestly, I could pick up like 50% of the thrillers. They would have that aspect. Yeah. But I'm trying to think of any that have like the movie part in it, because there's a lot of podcasts and things like that. But yeah, I kind of, does anybody have any ones with movie recommendations? Because I want to know.
So I'm pretty terrible at TV shows and movies unless somebody else tells me about them. Like I've always been that way, but I use Google to help me find some similar shows. But it had suggested Sharp Objects, which I think is by Gillian Flynn. And then Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, which I haven't read this one yet. So I'd be kind of interested to read it just to see like what's why Google decided to compare that book and this book.
Yeah, I love it. I love Big Little Lies. I think that's a good one. I just read earlier this month, I read the book The Dead Husband Cookbook, and that one actually felt so similar to this because it's like she's hiring a ghostwriter to come in and like help her write the story, and like there's the author is like suspected of like actually killing her husband instead of like it's very similar in that sense. So I would say that, but I do think this one was stronger for me. I liked this one a little bit more than The Dead Husband Cookbook, but that one is very comparable actually. And then I was looking at my bookshelf last night and I thought maybe Verity by Colleen Hoover, just because this is one where like there's this girl who's like coming in to like complete a book series for this other author, and so it does feel kind of similar, like not that I don't know if she's actually a ghostwriter, but it's something like that where she's like an editor or like something coming in, so it kind of maybe has similar vibes to Verity.
Yeah, I haven't read any that are like the writing aspect really.
Yeah, I feel like the whole ghostwriter thing right now is so popular. I've noticed in like thrillers and horror stuff, especially coming out like this year, it seems like that's like it's almost like the podcast thing in thrillers like last year where it's like every thriller has a podcast, and now I'm like every thriller has like this ghostwriter type of thing going on.
Well, there was the podcast that popped into this one at the end because she was like on it at the end, and I was like, there's the podcast.
There's the podcast, check it out. Yes, exactly. Oh, I think Rachel Hawkins is an interesting compare. Yeah, I feel like her writing style does feel like similar. And the Brady Bunch is interesting. Maybe for the setting of like the 1970s, maybe I could see that. Also, that's a good one. I was actually thinking of that too, like with the Riley Sager, The Only One Left. It does kind of feel like it's in the same ballpark. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and Dark Places. Yeah, just not as dark. Yeah, Dark Places is so freaking dark. Cool. Well, awesome. Was there anything you didn't get a chance to talk about yet that you're like, I'm just dying to talk about this before we wrap up the live show, or did you get everything off your chest that you needed to say about this book?
I don't think I have anything else. I would like to petition that authors not do Audible exclusives.
Yes.
Me too. Me too. I would also like that.
I hate it. Like, and libraries can't have your book? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's my biggest issue with it is like, why can't even libraries get it? Like,
Yes.
then that's just limiting access to everyone, and I hate that.
Exactly.
So
I
I
just
would
need to
agree. I would agree. Yeah, I think we'd all sign the petition.
Yeah.
Okay, well, awesome. So before we wrap up this live show, do you have any recent like 5-star reads that you want to like shout out to the rooftops, or do you have any like upcoming videos that you would like to tease, or anything you're working on that you're like, this is coming out soon that I want to promote?
Vanessa?
You go first.
You're both like, no.
Sure. I have a video coming out in 15 minutes where I read every single book Troop pick. So I went back and I completed all the reads that I have not read.
What?
It is 2 hours long, just to warn you all. So
oh my god, what?
That will be out soon.
Holy shit, that's exciting.
That's it was interesting.
Wow, I am honored. That's so cool.
Yeah, I have that. I will have a readathon announcement for October out
Ooh.
2 weeks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you said recent 5-star reads, and I was like, "Ooh, I know I read some 5 stars recently." My Friends by Frederick Bachman was so good. For any of you like more contemporary literary people. And then I refuse to stop yapping about this book, Warrior Princess Assassin. So if you're a romantasy reader, this one is great.
Nice.
And what am I up to? So I'm finishing up Arc August, so that's like almost done. And then I have like a stats video that's going to come out probably sometime next week, just kind of saying like how many people participated, what genres we read, what did people, I don't know, what prompted people read the most.
Yeah.
And probably I'm going to a book convention next weekend, so we have some sort of travel vlog going on.
Nice. That's so fun. I love that. I love a good stats video. Stats are my fave. Awesome. Well, before wrapping up the end of the live show, I just wanted to remind everybody that for September, we'll be reading How to Survive a Horror Story, which I'm equally excited and scared to read this one. I love that this one has like really cool sprayed edges, by the way.
Yeah, they're like teeth.
Yeah, it's like so cute. Love the vibes. And then in October, we're going to be reading 13 Months Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano, which I'm so excited for this one. It's from the same author as Dead 11, which I read a year or two ago and really enjoyed. So very much looking forward to this one in October. And yeah, I think that just about wraps up this live show. So thank you so much to everybody for joining us on this lovely Saturday. Thank you so much to Vanessa and Lexi for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And both of their channels will be linked down below. If for some reason you're not familiar, go show them all of the love and support here on YouTube. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we will see you next time. Have a good rest of your weekend. Bye.